Have you ever had this feeling? You're just standing alone in the shower, but somehow it feels like you're in a courtroom, defending yourself. Every word the other person might say, you've already anticipated. Have you ever had a moment like this? It's 2 a.m., you're lying in bed, but your mind is running a full-blown TV series. You're the writer, the main character. You even have the perfect background music. And have you ever asked yourself, why is it that people in real life keep disappointing me, but the imaginary friend in my head never does? If you quietly nodded, even just a small "yeah, it's 11 p.m., you only meant to scroll your phone for 10 minutes before sleep. But somehow, you suddenly remember a conversation you had with a colleague last week. It wasn't long, but something about it feels unfinished, so you start rewriting it. Not the awkward version you said in real life, but the one that would make the whole room go silent. You begin to replay the conversation. The first time you sound perfect. The second time you add a detail that leaves them speechless. The third time you even add cinematic flair. You lower your head slightly, smile, turn away. And everyone watches your back in silence. You win. In your mind, you win 3 times. Then you check the time. 1:12 a.m. And you don't even remember how you slipped from just scrolling into this world. Or maybe this one feels more familiar. You're driving. The highway stretches endlessly. The scenery is dull, the music fades into the background. And then you start rehearsing. Not tomorrow's conversation, but something from 3 months ago. The sentence you never said. The one you've always wanted to say. You know? What you said that day really hurt me. You repeat it in your mind again and again. The tone shifts from anger to calm to a soft, almost smiling, "it's okay." You even imagine the look on their face when they hear it. And then a honk pulls you back. You realize you've been driving under 60 in the fast lane. Your face carrying the expression of someone who just accepted a Lifetime Achievement Award. You quickly switch lanes, your heart racing. But one question lingers. Where was I just now? You're not alone. A lot of people call this daydreaming. But I don't. Because daydreaming sounds too light, like it's just a lack of focus. But you know that's not true. You're not unfocused. You're deeply immersed in another world. A world with full storylines, recurring characters, and emotional depth that sometimes feels more real than your actual life. In psychology, this has a name: maladaptive daydreaming. It sounds clinical, but the story behind it is incredibly gentle. In 2002, Professor Eli Sommer from the University of Haifa first studied this phenomenon systematically. And what he found was this: people who frequently immerse themselves in inner worlds are not undisciplined, nor are they too imaginative. Their brains are doing something very intelligent. They're creating a safe exit. Think about it. If the real world makes you feel out of control, lonely, misunderstood, what do? You can't always break down. You can't always fight back. Sometimes you have no one to talk to. So your brain comes up with a solution. Build your own world. In that world, you control everything. People who misunderstood you finally understand. Those who left come back and apologize. You become the version of yourself that finally feels seen. This isn't escape. This is survival, the gentlest kind. So if you've been doing this, please hear this. There's nothing wrong with you. You just learn how to protect yourself in a very intelligent way. But I also need to be honest. Anything we rely on for survival, if we depend on it for too long, starts to shape who we become. At first, you visit that world. Then you don't want to leave. Eventually you realize it's getting harder and harder to come back. Have you ever felt this? You have something important to do, but you've already rehearsed it in your head for 3 hours. And by the time you actually start, you're exhausted. Or you wake up in the middle of the night, feeling an unexplainable emptiness, because you've just left a world that was so vivid, so rich. And now you're back in a quiet room where no one understands you. This is where it begins to turn maladaptive. Your brain slowly learns. Emotional needs can be met internally. A sense of control can be created internally. Feeling understood can be simulated internally. And so, the real world starts to feel thinner. Real people are too noisy. Real relationships take too long. Real conversations don't follow the script. You begin to avoid not people, but the friction of reality. And the hardest part isn't even that. It's the shame. After half an hour of immersion, you suddenly snap back and ask yourself, what am I doing? Am I seriously talking to someone who doesn't exist? Is something wrong with me? The more you try to stop, the harder it becomes. Because when you stop, you're left facing that empty space in reality. And going back, that's the fastest relief. So the cycle begins. Shame gives need for comfort, gives return to fantasy, gives deeper shame. You're not unwilling to come back. You just don't know where to stand when you do. But there's something else you should know. People who can build rich inner worlds are never ordinary. They have something rare. They can sustain emotional warmth without external validation. They can create companionship out of loneliness. They can hold on to the desire to be understood, even in a world that doesn't understand them. This is not a flaw. This is a powerful inner ability. You've just been hiding it. You thought it was only safe when no one could see it. You thought if the real world knew how deeply you feel, you'd be judged, used, or pushed away. But the truth is, you don't need to destroy that world. You just need to slowly find a place in reality where a part of it can safely exist. Maybe it's one person, maybe it's one honest sentence. I actually care more than I pretend to. Maybe it's one relationship where you stop hiding behind I don't mind. You don't need to bring everything into reality at once. You just need to ask yourself, the next time you rehearse that scene in your mind, if someone in real life were willing to listen, what is the one sentence I most want to say? If something moved in you while listening to this, maybe your eyes got a little warm. Maybe your breath paused for a second. Maybe you finally felt, I'm not the only one. Then I want you to know, you've never done anything wrong. You just built a room for yourself inside a world that didn't quite fit you. You don't need to tear that room down. But maybe you can open the door sometimes and let the wind in. When was the last time you got lost in that world? What was happening in it? And if you could bring one sentence from that world into reality, what would you say? I'll be reading every comment. See you in the next one.